was the only one that quote saying that the mayor should sign it. Basically resigned. I guess he resigned the following month. That Peter came in and they ended up, I don't know. Would you maybe take a stab at this at some point in the next couple of weeks?
Are you gonna come every month?
Yeah, for last year.
Just give her excellent on everything.
Whatever you want, because you do it, we all do what you want to do. Right? Yeah. 'Cause you're at large.
Okay.
District, you're mayor.
Okay.
Yeah, mayor. The timing seems coincidental. Is this like the same?
No, it was, I had given it to Richard and then he was very anti us doing it. I mean, he doesn't think that that things should change, but he personally does not like to get people's employment. I said, I get it.
It's not like all the board members know what she does day to day.
Right,
Just hear the
exactly.
one month update
And
when
that's,
she comes here.
right. So,
No, we got, I think, 4 or 5
and then
cases.
Sharon Owens does it, and so does Joel. So, and then we sit down and figure out how close we all came and.
Shiny and, no. Shiny gets tomorrow morning.
Tuesday night. Turned everything off. And the meeting was at 10:30 here. I got here, it started before, and then
I go outside and there's 2 cop cars, you know, the red. Yeah. There's cars here,
I'm like, oh, good, now I can't even get there. But I forgot that I had actually talked to the mayor about them.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because that one's. Yeah. Where was the place that's picking up usually?
People were just leaving them.
Because it wasn't a designated.
No, and you know, it's funny because usually the food pantry brings that, food in. But what happened was, we decided to give the food to the letter carriers, to just have them add it to their drive that they do next weekend. And so we didn't deal with the food pantry. It probably would have been nice for the letter carriers, maybe. It was.
I know. I heard a couple people say it because I know a couple people say, "Where do I leave it?" And I was like, "I don't see where the." I said, "Maybe we leave it at the table."
There was a bag on the floor in the bar. In the bar.
Yeah.
So Shelly, who was sitting with me, you know, they tell you, see something, say something. She goes, should I say something? I said, can you look in it? She goes, oh yeah, so I blow up the bag. I said, I really don't believe that anybody's bombing the Hotel Syracuse on a Monday night in April. You know?
public hearing last night?
Hmm?
Public hearing here last night, right?
I have no idea.
For the budget, upcoming fiscal year? 3 people show came.
That's an interest.
Last year was 0, I believe. Moving in the right direction. Some good rants. We'll let them go. That was nice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you just listen to them. Say thank you at the end. It's like Survivor.
I like it better as maybe the Amazing Race would make more sense than. Because like Survivor, you want to be the last one standing. Well, you do an Amazing Race. Oh gosh, that's funny. It is, but it's not. I mean, it is when you have list, you have the list, but then the people that look at the list don't agree with the list, change the list. Hey, you ever talk to Don? Yes. Is he in town? No.
Tissues.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is the May meeting of the Citizen Review Board, and it is 5:40 PM. Thank you for people that are here tonight. We really appreciate you coming. And we also appreciate you attending the meeting yesterday and being supportive as you have been. You might notice that it's sparse up here. We've lost 4 board members in the last couple of weeks due to replacements, and the new replacements are not here. Some of them there have been appointees, and a couple have not been appointed. We did have one person who was appointed and resigned before they started serving. So if you're wondering why there's not a quorum here, that's why. So we will, and due to some of those replacements, I had to get another crew to do the administrator's evaluation. So we do have 3 people here who have agreed to do the evaluation, 2 along with myself. And I have spoken with the mayor's office, and I need to reach out to the counselor to make sure that he remembers that that's what he's supposed to do. I think that's it for now.
Okay.
We'll do more later on that.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. So as far as activity report, we have received 4 cases in the month of April, 1 online, 2 came in from the Office of Professional Standards, and 1 was received in person in the CRB office. To date, we have 21 total cases for 2024. In executive session, we planned to review 6 cases, but as you can see, there's no quorum, so we will not move into executive session. The budget meeting occurred, and we know that the budget is to be approved by the council this coming Monday. I think it's like May 6th. That's the date that they vote to approve the budget, so we'll see where we land after that point in time. Board members appointed, as Lori has alluded to, we had a new appointment from the mayor's office. His name is Donald Johnson. I did speak with him. He is retired. We have Linda Betts from the 5th District. She is retired as well. I have spoken with her, and they still have to go to the clerk's office to be sworn in, but I have made contact with both of them. As always, we have several letters that we received as it related to hearings that we were going to discuss further in executive session and talk about particular dates in which we had been provided by opposing counsel as potential dates to hold hearings after having to adjourn the last 4 hearings that we had scheduled due to inquiries from the attorney and things of that nature that needed to be sorted out by the board. And so I believe that.
Just ask a clarifying question.
Yes.
So, is the mayor, are we expecting the mayor to appoint anybody else, or is it just Donald Johnson?
It's just Donald Johnson as of right now. He replaced Jose Marrero from the board, and it is my understanding that May is going to continue on to the end of this year, only because then she would kind of be at the end of her term
So that would be
time.
as the mayoral.
Yes.
So
So,
May will continue to be on the board.
yeah, she'll
So
continue
May-
to be on the board as far as I know, unless they're able to find somebody else quickly. But given,
The other part that goes along with that is, since she was technically removed by the mayor, does she have to get sworn in again?
no, she wasn't technically. So
Oh,
the
okay.
letter that she got, it didn't say that,
she
when I
was
got a different letter as it related to Jose, you could tell the difference between the two.
Gotcha,
It was
okay.
actually thanking her for her continued service, but it didn't make it seem like that to her.
Okay.
So,
that's-
once
that's good.
reviewing it, we just had to make sure that we were all on the same page. Which is, it was a different letter that we received in terms of a replacement, so.
Okay, we still have openings in the 4th.
We still have openings in the 4th, and we still have an opening in the 1st Common Council District, because that is the one in which the person was appointed but then resigned due to the events that happened as it relates to the loss of 2 law enforcement officers. I did get a message from that counselor saying that they were going to look to appoint someone else, but I had not received that information as of yet. Yep.
We can do that. Community outreach and public education. For those of you who are here tonight that maybe weren't here last month or didn't watch it on TV, we are having a CRB block party on June, it's in here, right? June 29th, from 11 to 4 at Meacham Field down in the valley. So it's like the corner, the field that's behind, it's cross street from Valley Vista, Seneca Turnpike, and Salina Street. We're gonna have a DJ, games, activities, food. There'll be resource tables from a variety of agencies around the city. Please encourage people to come. I think it'll be a lot of fun. We did I don't want to say preschool, but it was a preschool opening a few years ago down there, and had kids coming from the neighborhood before school started, and giving away school supplies and stuff like that. And I think everybody had a really good time then. And depending on how it goes, hopefully we can move it around the city. Meacham was the only park that was really available that was big enough to do what we wanted to do. So this flyer is here if anybody wants, and Raynette has extra, so if anybody wants to take them and post them in places that they have access to, that'd be great.
We do have some additional community events that are scheduled this month. A community-wide literacy kickoff through Syracuse Reads is going to be happening on May the 4th. Mental health awareness through OnCare is going to be in the Lower Onondaga Park, and that's on May 11th. There is Senior Fair, community outreach through Black Health, which is going to be at 1700 West Onondaga Street, and that's going to be on May 23rd. And so look out, board members, for emails as it relates to that, but I did want to point those out. And in terms of if you would like to be part of the resource tent, please reach out to our office at 315-448-8750. Again, that's 315-448-8750 to be on the list of attendees as it relates to community resources.
Thank you, Anthony, for doing these, because he does a great job at these events. I think the kids really like him. He's really personable, even though he seems to be pretty quiet. Trying to see. Board development and training, we continue to do NACOL trainings, and there is a new one coming up. If anyone on the board is interested in attending the training, it is about police surveillance. It's an hour. They're online, and once you register, and if it happens to be at a time that you can't attend, board members, and you really want to, if you register, you can watch it after the event. So I've been to a few of them, and they're very informative, and it gives you a whole new approach to paying attention to things that are going on in our world. Do you have anything to add to training?
No.
Okay. Government relations, we've had a lot of government relations in the last month or so. We've been to many study sessions and board meetings, and Raynette and I both have had individual meetings with the mayor's office and have spoken with the counselors. I think everyone that's here was here yesterday. It looks like a lot of you were here yesterday. And again, I appreciate the support. We all do. It was nice to have to move the mayor's meeting from his office to the iLab because there were too many people to fit in his office. So people have been listening and reading the paper and paying attention to what's going on. And as we've all said, the biggest thing is we need the community supporting the board. We need the community. The Citizen Review Board is the Citizen Review Board. It is not the Common Council Review Board. And the proposed legislative changes, in my opinion, don't make that a citizen-controlled board. So that's enough on that subject, I think, for right now. So that's pretty much what we've been tied up with government relations for the last 6 weeks or so. Police relations, we were scheduled to have a meeting in April with the Police Liaison Committee, and it was canceled because of the tragic events of the week. It was like right the week after the 2 officers died, and so that will be rescheduled. Are there any community organizations that would like to be heard from? Come on up. Okay, I can, I get,
We can't hear you back here.
I'm sorry to hear
Ms.
that.
Mo- Hi, so I'm Jackie Lassonde. These good folks we're from the South Side. We kind of fall back on these kind of meetings because we just assume that enough community was already involved. So now we're here. We're interested in finding out the process. That's firstly. Secondly, I noticed you said you don't have a board member for 4th District. I mean, we'd like to know what the qualifications, and in the event we reach out to somebody,
Okay.
it would be a consistent manner, because we don't know enough about, I know about CRB, but we don't know enough about the workings of things. It's very disturbing to hear that there's 12 allegations, with officers, and it would be nice to know, even with the community, to know how it moves along. So
Okay.
is there a process for those things? And
Yes,
that's all I have to say.
I will do my best, and Renette will jump in when I'm either incorrect or left something out.
Oh, sorry, and I also
okay.
wanted to, this wonderful lady is our senior liaison, so seniors are always complaining to us, they don't know enough, and groups like this
Okay.
do not reach out to them, so we do that through her, so hopefully we'll get the information flowing as
Okay,
well.
sounds good. Okay, so the actual process with a complaint is the person complains either to Syracuse Police Department, Office of Professional Standards, or the Citizen Review Board. Whenever either party gets a complaint, they make a copy and give it to the other party, so we all get the same complaints. The Police Department, Office of Professional Standards investigates. From there, and they speak with the officers and anybody on that side, in addition to the complainant, and they review the body-worn camera footage, et cetera, et cetera. We really can't start much of our investigation other than with the complainant until after they're done with theirs, because we don't have access to their interviews with the police officers. We do have access to the body-worn camera footage, to statements, et cetera, but the actual interview is done by the Office of Professional Standards, because the officer is entitled to union representation, and in anything that may lead to discipline, it's not a public meeting. So once everybody does their investigations, there's investigations that are done either by Renette, and at this point we are in the process for the last 6 months trying to hire an investigator, but that process is very difficult to explain. It's a lot of county input has to happen before we can hire somebody. And we have nobody in the city really has any control over what happens at the county human resources level. So, I know I lost my mind here. So, okay, I will get it back. We also have access to a private investigative firm that if things get bogged down and Renette can't do all the investigations because we've got too many complaints, they will also do investigations for us. Then once the investigation is complete, the packet of information, which includes any evidence that the complainant has provided, any interviews that the police have done, body-worn camera footage, any, like if you happen to be there and you took a video and the person who made the complaint knew that you took a video and told us, we would reach out to you and take a look at that video as well. So anything that's open, that's out there that will help the complainant explain their position, we take a look at. The board reviews all the evidence and then by vote decides if what the complaint is rises to the level of a hearing. So if there's something that should be at a hearing, which is usually because we have questions that are not answered yet, or something is so blatant that, you don't even really need to look at everything and it needs to be a hearing. In order to have a hearing, you have to have 3 board members, one who's appointed by the mayor, one who's appointed by a district counselor, and one who's appointed by the counselors at large. So you have to coordinate those 3 groups and find someone from each group that's available on the same day, who also has to be available the same day as the attorneys for the police department, as well as the officers and the complainant and any witnesses. So actually setting a hearing sometimes gets really out of hand as far as trying to figure out when we're going to have it. When you read the ordinance, it kind of sounds like, oh, well, we're going to do an investigation and then we're going to have a hearing and then you're going to get the results of the hearing. And everything sounds like it's going to happen like in a week, but each step takes time. And then, as Raynette said, we've had several hearings that the attorney has canceled in the last couple of months. One was not their fault, I don't believe. But for the most part, if the police officer ends up having to can't be there, or the attorney can't be there, or we can't, the hearing has to be canceled. So, but that's the general process of how a complaint gets handled, if that made any sense to you. Oh, that's true. Yeah, what can come out of a hearing is we can decide, the hearing panel can look at the evidence and say, yeah, we understand why you were upset, but this really didn't rise to a level of unnecessary force or really bad demeanor or anything like that. And then that would be that we would probably find in that case that the complaint was not substantiated by the evidence. We could say that it was substantiated by the evidence, and then at that point we make recommendations to the police chief on what disciplinary action should be taken against the police officer. And then the police chief does have the final say on discipline. If we review a case and we feel that there's the potential for criminal charges, we do not have a hearing. We refer the case to the district attorney's office for their investigation as to whether they should prosecute or not.
I would just add in that point that we do hold hearings in some of them. It depends on what the nature is and if it's, so just to make sure that everybody's clear, officers are civil service, so that they take the civil service exam. So within that process, you have 18 months from the date of the incident in order to recommend discipline or for discipline to be taken. You can recommend discipline outside the 18 months, but the department cannot issue or enforce any discipline that is outside of that period of time. So in some cases in which it was outside of the 18 months, but we still felt like it should be referred to the DA's office, then there was no point in holding a hearing because it was outside of the window for discipline, but we thought that it was egregious enough that it should be referred to the DA's office. But in cases for which we do hold hearings, we can still, after holding a hearing and making a recommendation to the chief, we could still send it to the DA's office for further look. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. It's not like either or. We can do both in an instance. The only additional thing that I would add is that the police department has been providing us with links now to evidence.com, in which they are providing us with more body-worn camera than we had been receiving before. And that link has been made available, and it provides us with, prior to this point, sometimes it would be determined for us which ones are, the ones that they believe we should look at, and this link provides us with a lot more body-worn camera as to make sure that we feel that we have all of the information. So the reviewing of cases does take longer when you're looking at all of the body worn camera. The board will attest to the fact that I have been snapping pictures of parts of body worn camera to include in case summary. That takes time. So as it relates to the timelines, as Lori alluded to, the legislation says almost as if this is going to be done in 90 days. And it's not happening in 90 days. The attorneys for the police department are asking for, at least almost like 30 days notice. They're asking for at least 3 weeks notice at minimum, as we work through this. The police department is not doing their investigation in 30 days. We aren't doing our investigation in 30 days because we are waiting for them. But we all have to wrap it up, hopefully within that 18-month period. But that's not all in the legislation. And those are parts that we talk about, as a board of needing to be changed to make sure that we are adequately depicting how long it's really taking for these investigations to take place. As it relates to hearing panels, we were talking about adjournments. Adjournments happen sometimes on both sides. Recently, we've been giving more letters that are asking for more documents from us on our end and wanting more clarity on things. That was not the process before. So we are working around with different attorneys and trying to meet the needs that are being provided to us. So it's not as cut and dry as words on paper. And that is what's key to making any sort of recommendations as to how it's going to affect the day-to-day operations as it relates to day-to-day, but also as it relates to hearings. The board members that sit before me have, seen the emails. They have read the emails and they can see what is going back and forth. The administrator in their position does communicate with the board about those things and the hearing panel when selected or the full board in its totality. So I would be remiss if I didn't add that part. The interviews that the officers do are being recorded. So we get a chance to watch that video. We don't get the officer's statements, their 10-1s, until their investigation is complete. We are provided with some police report information so that we can determine earlier on now whether or not it is SPD, because there was a period of time for which we could have a case for months and not know that SPD wasn't involved, but the complainant would state that SPD was involved. And so that took a little bit of time. So there's a lot of moving parts to take care of this process in order to make sure that we are hearing from both parties. We can interview the complainant while we wait for the police department's complete file. We can interview any witness. We can watch videos that is provided by the complainant and things of that nature, but we should not complete our investigation without having everything from the Syracuse Police Department.
That's a lot of information.
No, I mean, it just, what saddens me though as a community advocate is that how much of that communication is going to the complainant, because of course, as a civilian, you lose faith and you realize that how are they really protecting me? Are they really advocating? Are there all of these nuances that will make it where, because when you say 18 months, my mind is not going to remember that incident as clearly as when it happened even a month later. So what is the form of communication from your board to the complainant, so to speak?
So that's what we had been working on. We had asked for a forward-facing dashboard in order for complainants to be able to access a safe space in order for them to see where they were in the process in terms of, received reports, things of that nature. We do ask that the complainants reach out to our office, call our office and let us know. Many times by the time that an investigation is, some complainants move frequently and they don't always provide us with their address, their telephone number changes. So that all is a factor. So we're all looking to communicate better about the process to the complainant and have the complainant be able to know what's the status of their case, and we are working on the proper technology that we could utilize to assist with that, because we don't have a particular way to just submit form letters that after, 15 days, it would automatically pump out one for you. We don't have, that kind of thing. So we have to manually do everything in our office in order to communicate on both fronts. But we do have many complainants that call every month. We have some that call every 2 or 3 months to check the status of their complaint. We have some that email us, that kind of thing. So we do try to communicate as much as we can, although, with limited staff, and backlogs and, cases and things of that nature, it does take time all the way across the board.
And we do explain, if you come in and file a complaint, or you email a complaint, if you do it online, we reach out to the complainant and explain the process in the beginning. And also explain, if you move, let us know where your new address is. If you change phone numbers, let us know your new phone number. Because we can't investigate if we can't get a hold of you. So, that's the other thing that we try and encourage people when we do community outreach. We'll get complaints about an event that happened 2 years ago. And it's very difficult to investigate something that happened 2 years ago if the complaint just came in. A lot of times that'll happen and the police officer doesn't even work for the police department anymore. So there's a whole lot of different things, but we do try and keep in touch with people so that they have an idea of what's going on. And then if the case is decided not to go, whatever dispensation of the case occurs, whether it's going to go to a hearing, not go to a hearing, the complainant gets a letter explaining that to them with the instructions to, call if you have any questions about this decision. Yeah.
I'm just curious, what is your success rate for holding them accountable if they get something wrong? The way you're kicking it, saying 18 months, a lot of things happening that when you get arrested, you have the right for a speedy trial. How come this situation ain't happening? If you put in a complaint, they can string that along and all kinds of things happen in 18 months. And I'm just curious, why is there a double standard when if you get arrested and you do something wrong, they say you have a right to a speedy trial. But if you make a complaint because they did something wrong, they get 18 months. I mean,
I know you have a right to a speedy trial. All right, I guess Joe's going to help answer that question.
Joey Favada. I used to be a criminal defense attorney here in Syracuse. I can explain the speedy trial process and how it is different than the CRB process. Now, the speedy trial process is set by a state statute, and based on the level of offense that you have been alleged to have committed, is only so much time within the time frame that the prosecution can prosecute you. They can't just sit on it for 5 years endlessly, let the case hang out, and then prosecute you because they decide it's time. The issue with that is, let's say it's a felony offense, it's 6 months for a speedy trial. The issue with that is there are procedural mechanisms that occur every day in court that delay that 6 months. So if the defendant wants to have a hearing to see if the identification was done properly, then the time between the request for the hearing and the hearing does not count towards speedy trial. So it's all of these technicalities that the courts are dealing with when it comes to speedy trial. As it relates to the CRB, it is a little different. It's a hard 18 months. We can't do anything about that 18 months. It's set in stone. So we need, as a board, to have the resources that we're requesting and that we're advocating for so we can make sure everybody gets that 18 months. There's a lot of things that aren't happening the way that they should, and I don't think it's anybody on the board's fault, and I can tell you for sure it's not Renette's fault. She is working as hard as she possibly can to make sure everybody's rights are protected. But we just, we've been advocating for years that we need help, and the fact that you guys are here is helpful to us, and if you could advocate on our defense, we would appreciate that. I see you have another question. Go ahead.
The way I see it, you know, you have the good old boy syndrome. They not bending over, helping y'all get the information so you can have a speedy process. So how can this board and the police come to a better conclusion so you can have speedy cases? Because the bottom line, they can give you a song and dance and wait almost 18 months. Oh, they go the information. That's what you're telling us.
I mean, they are aware of the 18-month deadline as well. They don't, I mean, their investigation could take 8 months. Their investigation could take longer than that. You know, what is frustrating, I would say, the most about the process is that after we receive their investigation, we're expected to turn it around within 30 days. That's really the expectation. And it's like you've had 8 months, and now I need to fly through this whole process, hurry up and get it to the board, you know what I mean? All of that kind of stuff, when I just had to wait for the bulk of the information that I needed from you. And so I'm always concerned about how long it's taking. Absolutely. I'm as the other community, Ms. Lasan stated, you know what I mean, because memories fail. Would I love for it to take a process of just 90 days? Absolutely. But it's not reasonably happening for anybody to conduct an adequate investigation. And that's what we would be more focused on, is making sure that we get adequate information. That is the department interviewing the officers. It is all of the body-worn camera footage. It is the use of force report. It is all of the police reports and the officer statements, and all of that intertwined, and being able to review that before we just rushed through the process. So again, I understand, and I am not happy with how long it takes to complete an investigation by far, but at the same time, I would want to have all the information that I can, because then we would have people talking out both sides of their mouths, saying that, okay, well, she only wanted to side with the community because she didn't even wait for all the information from the police department. Or, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. And we want to try to make sure that that's not the perception that is being created. And so we do need to wait for them to give us what they have, because it is going to be the bulk of the stuff that we need to fully see the totality of each circumstance and each incident.
And before you ask another question, I just want you to, Raynette, elaborate on the 18 months. Like, because we're talking about 18 months, I don't want the community to think once we get a complaint that the 18 months start at that date.
No, the 18 months starts the date of the incident. So that's why we encourage complainants to file a complaint as quickly as possible. And again, that 18 months is set by civil service. Like, if we can, get all the materials quickly, we would definitely, want to process it and be done with it within 6 months. You know what I mean? Within 180 days. We would definitely want to speed this process up. We don't want to speed it up and not properly investigate them.
Well, and the other thing to point out is, I've been on the board since February of 2018. And in that period of time, I have noticed tremendous change in a lot of areas. There's more staff in the CRB, certainly not enough. I mean, we'll take as much staff as we can get, let's put it that way. There's more staff in the police department office that investigates complaints. Things have changed as far as timeliness, but it's just not feasible to do a proper investigation in a short period of time. So if you take anything away from this at all, when you're talking to people, if someone says to you that, they had an incident and they're thinking of filing a complaint, encourage them to do it as soon as possible. They may change their mind later. They can always withdraw it if that's something that they want to do later on. I would rather get a complaint a week after an incident and have someone think about it for 6 months and then say they don't think it's really a complaint anymore than have the opposite happen and have someone think about it for 6 months and not have the investigation start until, 6, 7, 8 months after the incident happens. So the sooner, the closest to the date of the incident that a complaint can be filed, the better it is for a speedy outcome.
And if a complainant is concerned about retaliation, we ask the complainant that if in fact they feel that after they've filed a complaint, that they are feeling as though they're getting constantly pulled over more, that they've seen, things are occurring, that we're asking them to reach out to our office immediately when it happens, date, time, location, so that we can look into that as well. If that is of concern, of people, because I know that it is, of what's going to happen, once I file that complaint. And I feel as though now I'm, constantly having contact, or, I feel like, officers are treating me a particular way. We know that that is a concern of the community, and that's how we try to address it, is continuing to let them know to reach out to us and let us know that these things are happening. But we have to be able to have information in order to look into it, in terms of knowing where it happened, what date it happened, so that we can try to pinpoint some things. But I mean, we recognize that that's a concern, and we really would like that not to be a concern of people filing complaints. We have Mustafa over here. I'm sorry. One more minute. We have Mustafa over here.
You okay?
Intentionally, like that he wasn't letting nothing, wasn't nothing. It got a little, that much better compared to the way it was when Frank was. It got a little, I see progress that's been made, and it, although it's a little bit more, but I'm saying it takes time, things don't happen overnight, and you have to give them a little time, but, I mean, things got a little bit, they've been sharing information with each other, right, so it got a little bit better compared to the way it was.
And to answer your question about accountability, how do we hold them accountable? We by ourselves can't hold them accountable. It takes everybody to hold them accountable. It's the reason why we ask for public meetings to talk about the relationship between the Citizens Review Board and the police department and what's happening, what's going on, so that we can express our concerns and talk about what's going on. Because we can't by ourselves, It is a group effort that is required in order to make sure that we can hold them accountable by sharing that information, being able to make that public. You attending meetings, you pressing your common councilors, you pressing the mayor, things of that nature. Everybody has to be working to hold them accountable, and also to, show that people are paying attention to what's going on.
Now, how does the fourth district then, if we're not represented, how do we become represented? Is that?
Say that one more time.
Fourth district, you say there's nobody on the board from.
So you
Correct.
provide your resume, you can provide your resume via email to myself, and I share it with the Common Council. The requirement is they would like somebody to live in the 4th district to be a representative of that district. Once we receive the resume, we then share it with the Common Council. If they decide that they are going to appoint that person, I have a conversation with them, and I explain to them the desires that I have as the administrator for their participation as a board member. And that's where we go from there. But it is up to the council to appoint that person. We are supposed to have the ability to, in the legislation, it says that we have the ability to recommend somebody when there has not been an appointment. We have recommended people for appointments to vacancies, and the council still has to decide to appoint that person. So we can find somebody, we can tell them that this person is available to be this district representative, but it's still up to the council to decide. We have recommended somebody who did not live in the 4th district, but because we have had a representative of the 4th district not live in the 4th district before, actually the last person that we had in the 4th district did not live in the 4th district. So when we recommended somebody who didn't live in the 4th district, it was not uncommon for that to occur. And it was because I had been speaking with the previous common councilor, 2 other people that they were thinking could be their appointment, and they never were able to meet the time commitment. I would be remiss if I didn't point out that when we issue a findings letter, and the board has determined after a time that a hearing has been held that we make recommendations to the chief. We have not been receiving responses from the chief as outlined in the legislation as to why they agree or disagree with our findings. We have not received them in quite some time, in over a year. We have not received them. So it's a lot of pieces to this puzzle, not just on the CRB's end, that is not being held to the standard that many civilian oversights face as it relates to, we are typically more scrutinized as it relates to how we do things. And it's not that we want to be doing things at the best capacity that we could be. We want to be doing things in a timely manner, but every part has to be working in conjunction with one another in order to do that. And again, words on paper do not describe day-to-day operations. And so it's really key to make sure that we come together and we have the proper conversations to talk about what does this look like in application.
So, one second though, okay. In answer to your base question, which was what does it entail? This meeting, we meet the first Thursday of every month at 5:30 until we're done here, which is usually 6:30, 6:45. Then we go into executive session to discuss cases. Hearings. We have hearings. People have to be available for hearings. So we ask people to monthly give out, what is your availability next month? Are there days you certainly can't do a hearing at all? Are you going to be out of town? That kind of thing. I think we've done others as well, but Thursdays are the preferred date. There's also community events, anytime we march in the Westcott Parade, the block party, different events, some of the, was it Jazz in the City Sundays, or I don't remember. We'll have a table at those kinds of things, and the board members should be available to do those. Obviously, nobody's going to be able to go to all of the events. You can't expect that from anybody, but I do expect that people will come to the board meetings and hearings and have availability for hearings. There are times that the request will be to come to a council meeting or to the mayor's meeting or, a meeting that's going to be discussing the CRB and what's going on and what is intended to go on. So that's the general thing. You're not in it alone. I think.
Thinking together because it certainly wouldn't be me because I'm too well known and I do know.
Right, no, I just kind of use you as you brought up the question, but.
We're going to, pursue on picking somebody because I don't necessarily agree that, each district is different in, I guess, ways, in some ways. And so it would be nice to see somebody who represents Southside, just really because then it's accessibility also. That person knows that I made that complaint, but I also know this person from there. I am wondering, have you all reached out to, we have a meeting with the chief accountability person that was, I think he's been there a year now, a Twan, or the police chief accountability person.
Doesn't he come with it to our liaison meetings?
A Twan something.
Yeah, he comes to our meetings with the police chief.
That's why I'm wondering, how is it that the police chief can kind of skirt not answering things when you have.
It's a good question.
We'll have that meeting.
Okay. Does it again. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fourth
Jones-
district council?
Jones Rouser.
Yes. If people could go to the mic, because these meetings are recorded, and if you're not speaking loud enough, they can't hear you on the recording.
Can you go to the mic, please?
I don't know who's the south side. I don't know who's the south side. Is it the fourth district on the south side?
It is.
Well, I'm saying the fourth district ain't had no representative. They've been trying to get somebody from the fourth district up here for a couple of years now. And the fourth district didn't have nobody for a couple of years because the council was playing games and wasn't assigning nobody. And then the thing about it is, we don't need no puppets. We need somebody to come up here that's going to represent the citizens and so on like that. And you have people playing games, appointing people that's going to come up here and interfere with the process and so on like that, and nothing ain't going to get accomplished. If we need somebody that's going to fight for the citizens, and that's going to, ain't going to be no puppet. The council ain't going to be able to tell them what to do, and they're going to be a puppet. That's what you need from the, But for a couple of years now, the fourth district didn't have no representative. I've been waiting for the common council to assign somebody, and they ain't assigned nobody as of yet. So if y'all can help on that, or find somebody else, somebody that's going to come up here that's going to represent, because it's a lot dealing with the people on the board. It's a lot. And they like hearings and stuff like that, and they got to show up so that when you need the court to vote, because you need the court to pass votes so that they can investigate certain stuff. And if you ain't got the court, they can't vote. So you got to find somebody that's gonna come up here with sincerity and with honesty and something like that, and willing to put in their best, like that. If they're willing to do that, that's good. But the fourth district needs somebody. It ain't been a couple of years now, and that's bad.
The other thing to remember is that there are 5 districts in the city, so that's 5 of the 11 people on the board. The other 6 people are appointed by the mayor and the councilors at large, and there's no requirement other than living in the city. So there could be 6 other people that live in the 4th district. I mean, it doesn't happen typically, but theoretically, just because the 4th district doesn't have a representative doesn't mean that the 4th district isn't represented. What it means is we have one less person to make a quorum, do hearings, be at events, etc. Because I think we all agree that, we want each part of the city to have representation on the review board. Letitia and I live on the same street.
She's a district and she's an
And then
at-large.
she's an at-large, so.
It's just important for representation, but I know
Right.
that it doesn't stop here. Obviously, it has to go through common council. But since we know the process, we'll do our bidding on paperwork.
My recommendation would be if there's anybody that you know that has interest, have them call Raynette in the office, and she can specifically answer questions that they may have as far as what their duties would be. And then we can, yeah, but it would have to go to Petrona, rather, because she's the appointee, so. Okay. But I think the other, and I think the other part too is if somebody does contact her and say that they want to be appointed, let us know as well that they put in that interest so we can reach out and say, we heard someone from your district is interested, what's going on? Okay? Thank you.
And I just wanted to end it by saying, you guys were asking about accountability. What is it going to take? How do we get the chief to follow? How do we get, we are the board, we have legislation that we have to follow, but it's definitely the community. You do not realize how far and how much power we will have the more community members we have attending these meetings, attending these events, and just calling your representative saying, hey, this is what we want. This is how we want our citizen review board to move forward. This is the power we want our citizen review board to have. Because we put these people in office, we are the ones. It's us. So if we aren't involved.
Yeah, exactly what. We put you in office, we can take you out. Isn't that what moms say all the time? I brought you into this world, I can take you out of this world.
So, you know, it starts there. Yes, we have legislation. Yes, you know, Raynette does the investigations. We have freelance. It's all of us, but we still need the community.
And we certainly appreciate you being here.
Definitely.
You don't know how much we appreciate you being here tonight.
I was excited.
Fortunately, we are fed the news, our common councilman, what I said yesterday, do not meet with us. So I will go as far as.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. None of what you're saying is being captured in this meeting, and no one who is watching at home or listening at
I'm
home
gonna
can
make
hear
my
you,
last
so.
comment.
So,
Yeah, that's fair, that's
so
fair.
what you're saying is important and
Right.
valuable, but we can hear, but we're just nodding like this, and everyone at home is going, what's going on?
Going
We don't know.
on. No, just like we had articulated yesterday for the news, they did an okay job at coverage. The point is that none of us, I don't know if your side gets it, but mostly the common councilors are inaccessible to us. Even when we come to the meetings, you're not allowed to talk in the meetings, but we will escalate it as far as President Hudson, as for as long as she's here, and just let them know the seriousness of things, because I'm from downstate, and it's actually called Civilian Complaint Review Board. Here I know the CRB, but it still doesn't mean City Review Board, so we're not, you know, we're going in the opposite direction, but we strongly feel it is because you're the low-hanging fruit, meaning that, oh, you're singing to the police now. Hey, listen, we understand they're harassing you, and that's what it comes out looking like. So I'm hoping the mayor will take all of this into consideration, because even though he's not running again, the reality is you don't get to lead this kind of mess in our laps, because it's already hard enough to get things through, as we're finding out. So for sure, we'll do our part.
Thank you.
We'll do our part, right? They say yes.
I heard them.
All right, so the same time next month, well, actually, yeah,
June is right.
it's June is correct. It's going to be the first Thursday, which is the-
June 6th.
Yes.
I sent it out to all my. Yeah.
Yeah, I sent it to her. So she has it.
All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
We can't make
I can't, no.
We can't make a motion. We can't make a motion.
We can just, yeah, you can still adjourn.
No, I know we can adjourn, but we can't
We
do
don't
a
vote.
motion.
No, you do.
You just adjourned.
All right, I'm adjourning this meeting. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. No, that's what I meant. You just adjourned.